You good, Michael? Welcome everybody to the Select Board meeting Wednesday, July 24th, 2024, 6 p.m. in the meeting room, Seekonk Town Hall, Peck Street, Seekonk. Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20F requires any person recording must notify the chairman at the beginning of the meeting. Anybody recording? Seeing no one, all Board of Selectmen meetings are recorded via audio and video. Call the regular meeting to order, 6 p.m. We'll have a pledge of allegiance, a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could somebody read the Board Committee opening, please?
Madam Chair, volunteers are needed on the following: Board of Registrars, 1 Board of Selectmen appointment; Capital Improvement Committee, 3 Board of Selectmen, 2 moderator; Commission on Disability, 5 of 13 Board of Selectmen appointments; Cultural Council, 1 Board of Selectmen; Economic Development Committee, 5 Board of Selectmen; NG Committee, 3 Board of Selectmen; Historical Commission, 2 Board of Selectmen; Parks and Recreation, 2 Board of Selectmen; Recycling Committee, 2 Board of Selectmen; Veterans Council, 1 Board of Selectmen.
Priority matters, the promotion of Lieutenant Joseph Gibbons to the position of captain.
John, no. We can't hear him. You're back. I'm sorry.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Select Board members, Mr. Kadim. Tonight I come before you to make the motion to promote Joseph Gibbons to the position of captain within the rank of the Seekonk Fire Department. So in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement, Lieutenant Gibbons has been identified as the top candidate for the vacancy in the captain's rank created by the appointment of Deputy Chief Adam DeLesio. Here are some key points on Lieutenant Gibbons. Lieutenant Gibbons has been a member of the Seekonk Fire Department for over 17 years. In his years with the fire department, Lieutenant Gibbons, through the course of his career, has received multiple letters of appreciation from the community for a job well done. He holds certificates and has attended trainings in Fire Officer 1, Fire Prevention Officer Basic. He's also a public fire and life safety educator. He's also attended trainings in motor vehicle education classes, along with being a hazardous materials first responder. He holds a degree in liberal arts from the Community College of Rhode Island. He also is a paramedic for the state of Massachusetts, obtaining that certification in 2008. So through you, Mr. Kadim, I would ask that Joseph Gibbons be promoted to the rank of captain for the Seekonk Fire Department.
Madam Chair, my recommendation is as requested by Chief Will.
Your motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
And so here tonight to assist in the pinning is his wife Justine, along with multiple family members.
Okay, just a second. Anybody with cameras that wants to take pictures, you can come on this side. Come right over here. What? Try to find out. Come right over on this side, yes. That's fine, you get better pictures sometimes from this.
Hang on one second.
You gotta get sworn.
He's gotta get
Yeah.
I, Joseph Gibbons,
I, Joseph Gibbons,
do solemnly swear that I will bear faith
do solemnly swear that I will bear faith
and true allegiance to the United States of America
and true allegiance to the United States of America
and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and will support the Constitution thereof,
and will support the Constitution thereof,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Joseph Gibbons,
I, Joseph Gibbons,
do solemnly swear,
do solemnly swear,
sincerely swear and affirm
sincerely swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and perform all duties
and perform all duties
incumbent upon me as fire captain
incumbent upon me as fire captain
for the town of Seekonk,
for the town of Seekonk,
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my ability.
I will obey and be bound
I will obey and be bound
by department rules and regulations,
by department rules and regulations,
policies and procedures,
policies and procedures
as are
as are
or may be established,
or may be established.
so help me God.
So, thank you.
Here.
Good, Ben.
Yeah. Yay! Keep going, chief.
All right, so again, I come before you this evening, in recognition of an outstanding effort by one of our firefighters. The firefighter, to my left is Keith Bossy. He just graduated from a recruit academy in Springfield. I'll read a little bit of a synopsis of the, Richard N. Banks Outstanding, Student Award. The Richard N. Banks Outstanding Student Award is presented to one recruit of each graduating career recruit training class, which was presented to firefighter Keith Bossy of the Seekonk Fire Department, graduating on June 24th from the Career Recruit Academy in Springfield, class S37. This award is named for a longtime chair of the Massachusetts Fire Training Council and reflects the recruit's academic and practical skills in testing and evolutions over the course of the 10-week academy. Keith was a recipient because he maintained the highest overall class average in testing and also received the least number of deficiencies during his time there at the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy. It should be noted that Keith will be the fourth firefighter to receive this award within our fire department. So, it is with great pleasure I'd like to present firefighter Keith Bossy with a certificate of recognition for receiving the Richard M. Banks Award for the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy. Keith?
Thank you. May we have a proclamation from the town of Seekonk in recognition of Keith Bossy and in recognition of receiving the Richard N. Banks Outstanding Recruit Award given this 24th day of July 2024 from your select board.
Thank you.
Are we good?
Yep.
Yeah. Just so the family knows, if you want to go, go ahead. You don't have to wait, you can go.
You don't want him here any longer?
Oh, no, he can stay, but the rest of you have to go.
I'll be up there before you know it.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Consider accepting the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, AFG grant for the sum of $36,265.71. Chief?
Madam Chair, Select Board, Mr. Kadim. We have been informed, great news that the Seekonk Fire Department has been awarded a grant total of $36,265.71 in the first round of the FY23 Assistance to Firefighter Grant. These funds will be used for operations and safety purposes, which will no doubt benefit our organization and our fire department and also the public. If accepted here tonight, the fire department will utilize the monies for structural firefighting gear. This will serve as a replacement for some of our staff and also serve as a first new set for some of our other firefighters. So to the board, I ask that the town of Seekonk formally accept the FY23 Assistance to Firefighters Grant totaling a sum of $36,265.71 for the purpose of purchasing structural firefighting gear.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Consider approving the submission of the 24 Emergency Management Performance Grant, EMPG grant.
Good evening again. A brief synopsis of the EMPG grant. That grant stands for the Emergency Management Performance Grant, which provides funds to assist local and tribal governments with the Emergency Management Department in preparing for all hazards and to obtain resources required to support FEMA's national preparedness goals. Funds may be used to support local governments and regional emergency management activities. After some review of the grant, we feel it prudent to submit the application to acquire said funds. We will be requesting to submit for 3 ice water rescue suits and 1 Honda portable generator, totaling $4,600. So with that being said, through the board, I've requested the fire department be able to formally submit an application for the FY 2024 EMPG grant.
Anybody have any questions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. And before I go on that note, and great note, I'd also like to recognize and thank Lieutenant Matt Bradford and Lieutenant Kyle McCray for drafting the grant applications and for us obtaining them to date. We have a potential to receive nearly $85,000 to cover costs of grants that would not otherwise be available to us. So great work by
Oh,
those
excellent.
individuals and the lieutenants. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Consider opening the acceptance of the community emergency response team applications for the next class. Are you gonna present this, or?
I will.
I guess you will.
I will.
Go ahead.
As the emergency management director of the community, it was recognized some months ago that there was a need and a want to have some availability of extra volunteers to help assist during a shelter or a cooling center event, or even other incidents that may occur throughout the community. It was spearheaded through Nick Rondo and Lieutenant Kyle Prade to go ahead and run a class before actually developing a team. So what they did, was they established people that may have interest in the CERT program, which stands for Community Emergency Response Team. They gave them some initial training, but we need to formally submit an application for the team to be formed, and then for them to come on board, have core checks, background checks, driver's license checks. So we need to formally open an application period so we can accept applicants and formally assign them to a team. I did have a copy of the application before me. I can pass it out to you. I don't think it was in your packets. Just take a quick look. So really what I would like to do tonight is just get the authority to open an application period to accept the community residents that might be interested in joining the community emergency response team.
Okay, who's gonna make the motion?
I make a motion to allow the chief to open up the period to accept applications for the community response, emergency response team, sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
And on that as well, I failed to make mention during the presentation. We did just secure a $5,000 grant to help assist in those costs. So that team development will also be covered mostly by grant money. So there'll be no expenditure for the community out of that as well.
Great.
It's really positive stuff.
Great work.
Excellent.
Do you want applications? I can leave with you.
I don't
want to take a look.
Chief, I don't need.
No, where would people get applications? Or is this just for the class that's gone through already?
No, that's yet to be decided.
Okay.
Lieutenant LaPrade has come in the door, but
No, yes. You're all on your
through the three of us, we'll promote it on social medias, and we'll make sure that there's a link available so you can apply online.
own. Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
Chief.
Okay. Consider accepting resignation of Alex Summerhays from the fire department.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Chief, does that put you one down?
That has a total of 4 now with the promotion. 4 currently. Hopefully after next week, 3.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Community speaks. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come up and speak to us? Seeing no one, moving on. General business, consider the donation from the Stop and Shop Women for Good program in the amount of $82 for the Human Services Gift and Donation account. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Consider donation from Fran Gray in the amount of $129 for the Human Services Gift and Donation account to be used towards a new lawn pole set.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And actually, they are using it and they love it. So thank you, Fran Gray. Recognition Traffic Control Box Art Contest. Well, it says winner, but
Yeah,
so,
so,
yes.
yes, we'd like to say thank you for the artists who did put their submissions in and for all the residents who went and voted on all submissions. We would have liked to have actually announced the winner tonight, but we have a tie. 2 of the designs had equal number of votes, So we have a decision here to make as a board. There's several options we can take. We can reopen the voting just for those two designs and let there be a tiebreaker runoff. Maybe for another week, next end of the month would take us a week from today. That's one option. Another option, we could vote right now tonight as a board and decide that way. And just to make a note, if we do go with option one and there is a tie again, at that point, I think we would have to make the decision. And then the third option would be is if we actually had another control box in town that we did own, we could potentially offer up both designs, one for one box, one for the other, and then we'd have to be willing to, vote, put up another 500. But I don't know if we have another box. I did not get to speak with Mr. Cabral, so I thought he would be here tonight.
Yeah.
I saw him sneak in, but he just tucked back.
Okay. So
Well, we
personally,
did it for this box.
yeah, so I personally would like to go with option one and let the voting be reopened just for those two
I would agree.
designs.
And I would say the voting to be open till August 5th, which would be
That's fine.
2 days before our next meeting, so that way at the next meeting,
Yep.
we'll announce a winner.
There you go.
Works for me.
Great.
All in agreement? Everybody good?
Sure.
Good? Everybody go with that? Sean? We need
Just
to,
say,
Yeah,
fifth,
which is
yeah.
what, is that the Sunday?
no, it's Monday.
Well, let's do Sunday night like we did last time, just to make it.
All right.
Midnight, Sunday, August 4th.
Okay. So everybody knows the voting won't be open probably till sometime. She gonna be in tomorrow?
cheers.
Tomorrow.
Sometime tomorrow, we'll open back up, the link will be ready, available, and it'll just be the two designs that.
That sounds good. Accept the resignation of Maureen Hasselfus from the position of assistant assessor.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Consider the request for a right-of-way permit by Russ Payan to provide water service at 140 Bradley Street while the road is on the moratorium until July 31st, 2027. Oh, there he is.
How are you?
Good. Mr. Cabral's right behind you.
Good. How are you? All right.
If you want to step forward, I'm assuming you're Russ
I
Payan,
am.
sir? Okay.
You said.
Mr. Cabral?
So good evening. I'll just start off. We had a couple of right-of-way requests come in for service here last year. I've had discussions with the contractors that were looking to do work. The road is under moratorium. I have expressed that as well to Mr. Payan. The water main, there were two different requests. Initially, the first one was to bring the water in off the side of the house towards the front where the normal access would be. There's a determination made that that main was, it's a 16-inch main, was about 18 inches off the back of the edge of pavement. So they're digging down 5 feet, 18 inches off the road with a 16-inch main. They knew they were gonna be impacting the roadway, with discussions they had with the engineer. Since then, they've requested, last August to put their service in on the side of the home, going through the side yard by the garage, which is not normally where you would go, but the water main was 3 feet off the edge of the roadway. With the roadway being under moratorium, I pretty much said that I don't have the comfort that I need to assure the town that we're not gonna impact the roadway. Digging down 5 feet with the 16-inch main, approximately by the water division, 3 feet off the edge of the roadway. And initially, I think it was Mr. Fisk that had pulled a permit.
No, Foley.
Oh, Foley, I'm sorry, yeah. Mr. Foley, had pulled a permit initially, told him the road was under moratorium, some time went by. And another, contractor, I had a good conversation with Matthew Minkin, which is second contractor. Yes. Yeah. And Matthew indicated he had some experience working in Boston, was used to working with close quarters. However, again, with speaking with him and, Mark, Mariano from Oakville Engineering, pretty much no one would guarantee that we can't impact the roadway. I mean, I just, intuitively, that's why we're here. The road's under moratorium, I can't be in favor of it. This is the body that would allow it to happen depending on the need, if you will. So I just wanted to prelude that there's been some work in progress here prior to getting to this point here. And I'm sure, Mr. Pine will have some, discussion on the water service, why he needs it, for your consideration, and, you know kind of where I stand on these things, so I'll leave it at that and turn the presentation over to him. With, he can bring to the table what his, request for the water services and so on.
Well, good evening, thanks for hearing me. So this problems, I've had problems with water for quite some time. My water is very acidic, has a low pH. I bought a treatment system when I bought the house. I should have listened to my father and hooked up the town water back then, because we wouldn't be going through this, but I bought an injection system that did good, but it's slowly not doing it, and I have to add more and more chemical. The chemical is a soda ash. It's very caustic to the eyes, to the skin, to the nose. But it's not working. I've already replaced 4 pumps since I own this house. Multiple fittings. In 2022, I had a pinhole in one of my heater pipes that I had to pull the sealant out to repair it. And also the pitless fitting, which is the fitting that goes on the pipe. It's made out of brass. It's 5 feet down. The water ain't hole through it. If I put normal copper pipe from Home Depot type L, it lasts about 2 years. It just puts pinholes through it. So I don't want to use any more chemicals. I'm worried about the health and welfare of my home and my family with the chemical and the water. The water is just very acidic.
You're using all these chemicals because you have well water, right?
Yes, ma'am. 50 feet from my front door is a good source. My family's been here 5 generations, and we drank this water. We're still, I'm still kicking. My father is too, so it just, to me, doesn't make sense. The second contractor I hired, and I apologize for that. I get frustrated with people when I see incompetence, but this started out in 2022 when I started really having problems. I had the plans done up. It was scheduled to be done in early spring as soon as the weather broke of 23. In April, the contractor could not give me a definite date, so I moved on to the second gentleman who would give me a quote, which was Foley. He came out, filled out the paperwork. It was denied. The road was recoated in May. I think it was early in May of that year. He actually brought up, hey, what about on the other side of the house where the pipe comes in 3 feet, because you could still see where the water department had marked the pipe. I asked him to look into it. Again, he drug his feet. And it just so happens, probably in July, I met this other gentleman, Matt Megan, and he came by my house and he said, I can do that for you. That's a no-brainer. So I did have the pipes rechecked by utilities locators, and the gentleman was pretty confident where those pipes were. So I put some money out on this. It cost me another $500 to have the plans redone. The new plans. That's where I'm at. This.
So who's the company that's gonna do, that you have?
Matt Megan, he's out of Rehoboth.
Have you worked with him before, David?
I have not, but, I did have a rather, good conversation with him. He seems to be very capable. I expressed my concerns I had of undermining the roadway going down 5 feet with that pipe. And, because they have to put a saddle around a 16-inch main, that close to it. There's no assurance that something won't give way, the shelf under that pavement won't give way, and that's why we're here. I mean, at the end of the day, this board's gonna decide whether they wanna grant it. I just wanna express my concern of undermining of that roadway, that close proximity to the edge. You cannot assure that. You can't do anything there to protect the back wall, so there's just out of abundance of caution on my end, I would never issue a permit knowing that there's a potential to undermine the roadway, so.
Did you, see this from Oak Hill Engineering where it says you use trench box and shoring to prevent any road damage?
Your trench box is not going to prevent, because they have to so when they're digging the hole, just to put it clear, right? They're digging down the hole, you have to pipe in the ground. We've talked about it before where I tried doing this on the same roadway with different contracts and developments going in. You cannot put that trench box in up against the pipe. You cannot put that trench box in to the point that you're gonna, up against the pavement, they can do it, but they are gonna be digging 3 feet, within 3 feet of the edge of the roadway. The trench box would literally be then sitting right over, as they go down, would be sitting over the water main. The water company's not gonna allow them to put a trench box on top of that pipe. I don't know the construction sequence that they plan on using, but in my opinion, what I've seen them do out there, when they get down to the bottom of that pipe at 5 foot deep, they do have to, and they will go in sometimes, dig down, straight down, the pipe is here, and they may try to go in at a little bit of an angle, just so they can get that saddle around there, digging back in, that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna expose the pipe, make sure they locate it, work their way over, get enough room clearance, they probably need about 6 inches of clearance, at least to get that saddle around that pipe, so they can tap it, because you have to physically get that unit right around that 16-inch diameter pipe. So, with that said, it doesn't matter, we've heard it before, people are gonna try to put sheeting in, get the trench boxes, when they're digging that hole, they're just hopeful that that embankment is gonna stay put. There's not much you can do there, because they're working in the hole, right where that trench box is gonna be, so it will literally be over their head, which is another hazard, and they can't bring it down to the level of the pipe you want. Obviously, if we could put that on the other side of the pipe and shore it up, we wouldn't be having this discussion, because there would be room. And it's, again, in my opinion, discussions I've had with the engineer, discussions I've had even with Matt, nobody has been able to give me a guarantee, which is why I'm here tonight, that they will not, potentially, you could hit a piece of ledge, you could hit a boulder in that area, and once you have something get away underneath the support, the edge of that roadway is gonna go in. And there's potential for that, that's all. So in good faith on my end, I do not want to be in front of this board telling you that I allow something to happen by signing a permit and have to pay to get over. So we know what the risks are. I want to be clear what the risks are. Ultimately, you're going to hear, the need for it. If you guys can make a decision.
But there's gonna be a risk whether that road was under moratorium or not, the way they have it set up here, right?
It is, but the moratorium is what prevents me from signing the permit.
No, I know, but
There would be.
I'm
Yes,
just,
absolutely,
okay.
there would be regardless.
My question to you, I get there's a moratorium on the road. If we're that worried about it, then why can't we just go with the initial plan and cut 2 feet into the road? And, it's not 44, it wasn't repaved, it was just seal coated in rocks. I mean, either way, I'm willing to put this investment into my home. I can go 50 feet, or I can go 100 feet. I'm willing to go that far, but I mean, to me, it kind of doesn't make sense. Yeah, I get it. The other one's right on the corner. In this case, we should just go straight and cut 2 feet into the road, because it's right on the edge of the road, the pipe, all the way down Bradley.
So I'm glad you asked the question. It was kind of what was running through my head here. This case, I know they chip seal and drive there all the time, right? And so when you get down to it, I mean, we didn't, mill and overlay the road. And given the location part of it, I guess my question to you, Mr. McCall, is whether it was 1 foot or 2 feet to go into that corner of the road, and after they do their work, the owner will be responsible for patching over, in that little section or whatever it would be. I mean, I'm guessing it would be a 2 by 6 area or something roughly. It doesn't blend, but we only chip seal, we didn't mill them over, right? So if there are patchwork there, could leave a significant defect in the road.
Yeah, and again, with the board, if you're going to entertain possibly digging, knowing that there's potential at either location, the most obvious location you'd like to put it, obviously, would probably be, I won't speak for him, but probably be where they originally wanted to put it, in front of the home. It's the shortest one from the water main. It's close, but that one there, I guarantee you, will impact the roadway. So, with that said, then we start talking about restoration, right?
Yeah.
So the restoration, in my opinion, to kind of get there, what I would like to see done, and I can work with Mark, the engineering. I mean, they're gonna dig a hole, do the excavation, if they use flowable fill to backfill it, at least that will prevent any additional, a majority of the settlement. And then do a proper utility patch to the satisfaction of me, I guess. I'd be okay with that, if that's what the board chooses to do.
Well, we did something very similar a few months back with a woman that was looking to cut in a road for, I think it was for gas.
That,
Well, that was a unique circumstance, because we were also getting ready to do the other part of that road as well.
But she also was willing to pay for the patchwork and everything else that needed to be done.
But I think given the location, so like, so I guess it boils down to where this current proposed location is minimal, it's not out to the middle, right? The other one is out to the middle of the road. I mean, I guess I would just suggest doing it at the corner of the current proposed location, if that's what we're gonna do, it would be minimal effect to the road itself. But it's just my recommendation, and but I don't object to cutting into the road, just give it, an extra foot or two proper to do it. Not having an issue.
Mr. Gannon, you have something?
I'm good with the, second option of 3 feet off the roadway, because the impact of the road would be minimal, as long as the hole is backfilled with, full of fill, and I'd also like to see if the homeowner would be willing, or the contractor would be willing to add, I believe, we see 1 year to the moratorium, because I believe it goes out to 27, Mr. Cabral. Have it go out to 28, and then something in that area of that 3 foot section where they're gonna dig into, which is off into his property. If something happens to the roadway, they're responsible for fixing it. For an additional year, on top of the current moratorium that's out there. I have no problem supporting the water service for the health and well-being of the residents of the town. I think it's the right thing. Where it goes to his property 3 feet in, I think the impact of the road, if it's done properly, will be minimal. We backfill it properly, they patch it properly in his yard, compact it properly under your guidance, Mr. Cabral. And I would add 1 year to the moratorium, that's all. That's just.
And to be clear on that, so when they go to do this, they're gonna have a bond. Initially, they're gonna have a bond.
Mhm.
Would we want to extend that bond term to be at least that 1 year? Is that what you're kind of implying?
That's what I'm implying.
And I'm just saying, it's a $5,000 bond, which if they do the initial patch correctly, at least if it were to settle, I'm sure that they would probably make good on it anyway, but the $5,000 in my mind would be enough to cover it anyway.
Okay.
So we would extend the bond through the following year, and I have the dates which I can add. That's, I'm okay with that.
Now, how does that whole bond system work? How does that affect?
Wait, so when you go to do the work, you're required to have a bond in place anyway. Typically, it'd be for a year on most services, because we'll monitor for a year, making sure there's no settlement. In this case, because we're on the moratorium, they just want you to carry that bond through the term of the moratorium plus 1 year. That would just guarantee the town that area that you're working in on the side of the road, if it were to settle, we have a guarantee that we have money there to repeal it. If you as the contractor choose not to do it, we would keep that bond active until 1 year past the moratorium. There's no issues, the bond just gets turned back to you and that's the end of it.
So that's $5,000 cash from me that's put into a bond.
That would be sitting in the bond. You have to renew it every year through the term of the 1 year past the moratorium.
So this is looking at probably a $15,000 job. Out of my pocket.
Is the bond always the same, Mr.
It's
Cabral?
always, it's a $5,000 bond.
No matter which way you go?
I mean, if there's special circumstances where we would have a bigger concern because of a big area of roadway, $5,000 bond we have typically covers everything that we're doing for utility cut for water service. In this case though, because of the moratorium, we just want to ensure that we're gonna be able to carry that bond further than the
I
1
get
year
it.
period.
I get it. You didn't know about that bond, did you?
Well, I did not realize it was another, like I said, this is not a cheap job.
Right.
And, that's 15 grand out of my pocket. To be put, I'm assuming the money gets given, it goes to the town.
The bond essentially sits there. I mean, you have to issue it. I don't know what they charge for fees, but anybody that gets a water service in town is always getting a $5,000 bond to open up the roadway anyway. It's just,
Now, I have to ask you this question. So when I initially had Foley, he quoted me a price. There was no mention about the bond. It was $6,000 cut and dry, the whole job. And now there was nothing mentioned about an additional $5,000 bond.
So I believe actually, I believe there was one time there was a bond issued in the review documents. All these permits when they came in were just put on hold, but there were attachments to those, which is where the files came from. And I believe that one of the submittals, and I don't know off the top of my head because I don't have the information here with it, but of the submittals that were made, one of them had, I believe there was a bond certificate attached, but you don't recall having a bond issue for this.
No, because I had the email where the gentleman quoted me the price and we were moving forward and then, it
I can
was
review the
denied.
process. I think that whatever the board decides tonight, we can have further discussion to be clear on that process and the procedures and
Yeah,
what we're
and
looking for.
the bond itself is refundable back to him,
It's not refundable.
barring any issues.
Yeah, you would just have to renew it
At the
for,
end of the 5 years.
you would have to renew for that term. If you don't use it, it goes back to,
Yeah, but again,
From your
my point is that's $5,000 cash of my money given to the town to hold on to.
Can,
Yeah,
yeah,
Is that how I'm
we
reading?
can, understood.
You
We
know,
can,
that, to me, that's kind of,
can we postpone this for 2 weeks for him to get more of his stuff together? Look into it?
no, you know what, ma'am, it's,
Go ahead.
if this is the way it's going, I really don't think I'm gonna, I'm kind of disappointed, but I really
Well,
don't
we
think I'm
can
gonna.
postpone this indefinitely and you can decide what you want to do and come back.
It's a lot of cash.
No, I
You know?
totally understand, and I understand that you didn't think this was gonna happen, that's why I'm saying, we can either postpone it for 2 weeks so you can look into this, talk to the people, talk to Mr. Cabral, and look into the other permits in case it's, was posted and then decide. I mean, we don't have to do it this second.
I've had, I apologize, but I had
That's all
some
right.
pretty good conversations, with everybody. To me, just as a person that's going out and hiring somebody that's licensed and insured, as a consumer, I feel like I'm getting the shaft with this, because why would I hire somebody that's licensed and insured if I gotta cover their butt if something happens, But that's just how I feel. But again, it all boils down to that's a lot of cash for a water hookup and, no contractor has mentioned that was gonna cost me that much. And I can tell you neither Foley nor Macon, and I know Macon pretty well now, but I know Foley's what his price was quoted.
Well, like I said, I mean, if we just postpone it for a couple of weeks, you can go back and talk to them and,
Oh, I will talk to
You know?
Mr. Meekin when I leave here. He was, unfortunately, he's working up in Boston, so he couldn't be here today, but, again, it just doesn't make sense that I have to fork over $5,000 for the town to hold if something happens when I got a licensed and insured contractor doing a job. That's a lot of money that somebody else is gonna make my money off of my money.
Well, there's always the chance too that he included that in his cost too. right?
Well, I just,
I'm not sure, right? And I
Well,
haven't seen that, but it's
there's
worth
no way of-
conversation.
Foley's price was $6,000 when he quoted me, and that was
Right.
22.
Yeah.
So there's no way,
but
there's no way
we
that
can-
was included in it. Cause I know just I think the water department permit was like $1,500. It's so, and I know the way prices are nowadays, it's where it's gonna be. So, I just,
if I may speak to, I like your idea of keeping this open, postpone it indefinitely. The $5,000 bond, if you decide to go up in water after the moratorium ends, and we'll have a chance to discuss too if you choose to, and I can talk to, Mr. Minkin as well. Your $5,000 bond is required with the permit. It's something that we vote on annually when we issue the right-of-way permit for anybody. Gas company, it doesn't matter who's doing the work. It's only part of the requirement.
so any,
So if you were gonna hook up the water in 2027, right after the moratorium ended, you still are gonna be required to have a $5,000 bond with the town for 1 year. And so,
I'm gonna do, not to say anything, but I'm gonna do some asking, because I've talked to a lot of people, and nobody's ever brought this up where, yeah, I had to, fork over an additional $5,000 to cover my butt if anything happens. But I will look into it, and we can leave it open, and
Okay, so if we postpone it indefinitely, then you can come back at any time. You have to go through the same, how you're gonna put on our,
that's fine,
agenda.
that's
That's the
fine,
word, agenda.
that's fine, that's not a problem. That's the easiest part of this whole thing.
Okay, well, it gives you time too. So we're gonna postpone, can I get a motion to postpone indefinitely?
I'll make a motion to definitely postpone, the discussion for Mr. Payan's, right-of-way permit.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Good luck. Okay. Okay, the joint meeting with the planning board to interview Michael Bingham for consideration of appointment to the planning board. Where's the planning board? Come on down.
John's checking, but we don't have a quorum,
Oh,
and no one informed us that they were not going to be here
until,
until Dave Roberts sent an email this afternoon. He's stuck in somewhere down south because of the flood problem, so
But
we couldn't get back.
you
But the other
can't
two,
get a quorum tonight?
nope.
Okay,
I just tried calling two of them, they didn't get back to me.
okay, good.
So does that mean we can't make an appointment tonight?
It has to be a joint committee meeting, so without a quorum, it won't be valid.
Okay, so we'll just postpone it indefinitely and
We will get back to you for another date.
that's fine.
That's fine.
So I'll make a motion to postpone indefinitely the joint meeting with the planning board.
What's your quorum, Stan?
It's four, there's three of us here. And John just went to do a check outside, see if anybody else was here. I don't think he came up with anybody. They've already informed Mr. Bingham of the problem, so he's aware, unfortunately.
Shake the tree someplace.
Okay, and I have a motion to postpone the joint meeting with the planning board.
So,
Second.
Apologize to the board and
That's
Mr.
okay.
Bingham because we were anticipating, but
sorry, Mr. Bingham.
All in favor?
didn't want to wear.
Unanimous.
Thank
See you
you.
next time.
All right.
Who made the motion, Michelle?
Justin. And then Pam. Okay, now we have a joint meeting with the Department of Public Works, DPW Building Committee. Anybody here from the Building Committee? Yes, John Close. But this is not necessarily, you don't need a quorum for the. Okay, this is for discussion and update of the new DPW building project. So do you wanna? Yes, please. John, you wanna come up too? Seeing as you're the chair. So this is for a presentation. Yes. So just for the record, please.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Tavares with CGA Project Management. We are the OPM, the Owner's Project Managers representing the town of Seekonk for this project. I'm also a Seekonk resident. And with me is Mary Beth Carney, Assistant Project Manager, also been working on this project.
And just, John, just for the record, please.
John Posey, 44 Rice Street, Chairman of the DPW Building Committee. Great. Well, thank you all again. Good evening. We met with you already a few times, given the board a few board updates at every step of the process. Tonight we're here to provide a little bit of an overview, just as a reminder for the record of where we've been, and then let you know where we currently are and what's happening next. So this is just a project overview. I think the importance in this is that it's been a process. It's been going on for quite a few years now. Through the town meeting approval, to go through a pre-construction, as well as the formation of a building committee back in 2022. OPM was selected in December of 22. Designer was selected in March. Commissioning agent came on board in January of 2024. And to date, there's been 21 posted building committee meetings, plus many more meetings that take place during the design process. So the next slide is related to overall project schedule. We began with programming back in May of 23. To do programming, preliminary site investigations, working closely with Brewster Thornton Architects, who was the architect of record on this project. And then we've been following along these various phases. So the next phase was schematic design. That it took about 4 months to complete. We also conducted cost estimating during that time. So we had 2 different cost estimators, one for the architect, one representing us at that stage of the process. And then we continued on with design development documents. Again, design development documents, just furthering the design. A lot more conversations going on with the building committee, selecting materials, finishes, confirming program sizes. And we do another round of cost estimates. And so it's important that we are doing a check and balances. And again, we presented to this board with the updates, received commentary, and and took further action at schematic design stage as well as design development. During that process, we were also pre-qualifying contractors. Because the cost of the project is valued over $10 million, Mass general law requires that general contractors as well as certain subcontractors be pre-qualified. That was a long process. It began back in March. I'm happy to say that as of Monday, we just completed it and had it presented to the building committee. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But we have fortunately had a lot of interest in this project. There were 12 general contractors that submitted their qualifications. 11 of them were pre-qualified. We had 90 subcontractors submit their qualifications. All 90 were eligible to be pre-qualified. So those contractors only will be those contractors are the only contractors that can actually submit bids on this project. And on top of that, we had a lot of good coverage in every one of those subcontractor categories. So now we're in the final stage of the construction documents. As you can see, it's August 24 is when we're wrapping up the construction documents. And again, we conducted another round of cost estimates, independent cost estimates, reconcile them, and presented those findings at Monday's building committee meeting, which we're going to discuss with you as well today. So the next phase would be the construction bid. So and I'll go through one of the next slides will show a little bit more detail. So then once we go out to bid, we'll receive bids from general contractors and subcontractors. Once all that gets reviewed, confirmed, and approved and presented, then it would come back to this board for recommendation to go to the town meeting for a townwide approval. And then assuming the town moves forward with the project in November, we anticipate an award happening in December and construction starting, well, at least the construction phase would start immediately, with the anticipation of turning the new building over in June of 2026. Again, those are all subject to change a little bit, but that's where we currently are. So this schedule provides you a lot more detail in terms of what's really happening over the next several months now that we're at this stage. So on August 14th, the project will actually be out to bid for contractors. 4 weeks later, on September 11th, we'll receive file subbids, subcontractor bids. Those are those 90 some odd contractors that we pre-qualified. And then a building committee will be held to review all the results, make sure everything's all acceptable. And then we inform the general contractors formally of those subcontractors that were that submitted their bids and which ones can be passed on for the contractor to use. Right now on September 25th, which is a couple of weeks following the receipt of the subcontractor bids, we'll be opening up the general contractor bids. So that process right now is scheduled to take 6 weeks. That's pretty much the minimum of what we do. 4 weeks for the subs, and then get the contractor and the general contractor an additional 2 weeks to collect that information as well as finish up their bid. Sometimes they ask for a little bit more time, depending on what's going on with the documents, if they have a lot of questions. So that's why I'm saying this is subject to change. Right now, this is the schedule that we're going out to bid, and unless there's a reason for us to make any modifications, we're going to hold to it. And then once the bids are received, there'll be another building committee meeting on October 2nd to review and accept the GC bids and present that at this board, the results. That'll also be the date that seems like that would trigger the timing of approving the warrant that would go before the town. And we're working closely with Sean on making sure that whatever that duration is, I believe it's like 35 days from one point to another point. Anticipating town meeting on November 18th, ballot referendum vote on November 25th, assuming all of that goes forward. Then this board would meet again to approve and execute the general contractor's contract, and then we're moving forward. So since the last time we presented, there's been quite a few, obviously a lot of work and a lot of activities going on, but we'll just run through a few of them. The building committee continued with value engineering exercises, working very closely with us, the architect, and the building committee members, and Dave Cabral from DPW. That resulted in some modifications. The information and feedback that we received from this board, we studied again and determined what could be included in this VE process. Code reviews were performed with the local officials. We met with the fire department captain for fire prevention, as well as the building commissioner. And Dave was part of that as well, Dave Cabral, and we just basically went through all of the code plans and made sure that everyone was comfortable with that. Hydrant flow test was performed over on Route 114A, Fall River Avenue, because the last one was done a couple of years ago. We needed a new one. Everything came back positively, which is good news. The other thing, this is probably one of the most important things that we had to do, is because of the type of site that we're working with, the geotech engineer was not comfortable with the number of borings that had been done previously. So they went back out to the site and did more borings, did more test pits, worked very closely again with DPW for assistance out at the site. And that way, the geotech engineer and the civil engineer can feel more comfortable with their design as we go out to bid and completing everything that they need to do for the contractors. We had a meeting this morning with that same group to make sure that we're all on the same page as we wrap this up in the next 3 weeks. There was also a look at the garage size, whether or not the size of the garage could be reduced, whether or not the building location itself could actually be pushed further away from neighboring property. All of that was looked at. Some of it did get incorporated, but some of it did not. The garage size ended up staying the way it was, and the building was determined, and we can show you that in the drawing. Really couldn't move any further without increasing cost. Commission agent, as I mentioned, the commission agent was hired up for this project early on in the process. They've been very active in reviewing design documents. Now they're completing their review of the construction documents, offering commentary on building systems, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, technology, as well as the building envelope. So there's another set of eyes from a professional firm looking at everything and providing comments to the architect and their engineering team. As I mentioned earlier, we developed the next round of estimates, which was the 60% construction document estimates. That was a 2-week process along with reconciliation. We completed the contract pre-qualification, as we mentioned. There's been submissions to the planning board, conservation, as well as the Board of Health. And right now, the civil engineers in the process of finishing their traffic study and making a submission to Mass DOT. So lots happening. There's a lot that needs to happen still over the next several weeks. And we meet with the architect every weekly, more if needed, just to make sure that everyone's moving forward in the way we need to go. This is an updated rendering. So one of the VE items was also take a look at the building envelope, simplify it, make sure that we're not at heights that it doesn't, so the building height itself was reduced. A few other things might have been, changed, like the number of windows, especially in the garage area. There was a reduction of windows there. Some other features like solar shades and things of that nature were removed. But for the most part, the shape of the building and the footprint of the building remained the same, but we just received this updated rendering this morning, today, so we wanted to share it with you. You get a little bit of a picture of the outdoor storage, covered storage right there as well. The floor plan didn't really change much other than, further refinements that the architect and the engineers have to do to complete their design and engineering. And it's pretty much the same. Landscape design also didn't really change much since the last meeting, since the last time we were here. There's still going to be a vegetated barrier along the perimeter of the neighboring properties, along Carter's Way, as well as on 114A, right? So that's going to wrap the corner. So the idea would be to protect visually as well as acoustically, which you'll be able to see in the next slide. But for this slide, you can just see that this is just showing where plantings are gonna go, where lawn areas will go, and it's pretty much it. The next slide. So the site plan has evolved a little bit, again, through value engineering or parking spaces off the west end of the building. That's now, and then added to the other side, exactly. And there was a lot more work done as well with the salt shed and the fueling station, confirming the size, confirming the location, reconfirming circulation, making sure all of that is working properly. So that's all been worked out, as well as just finalizing a lot of the exterior features for the project itself. You can see that purple line is the line where there's an assumed, so the landfill page down is all there. So page up from that purple line is where we just have poor soil. So if they didn't count too much any trash up there, that was all in that wooded part of the property. But there is still poor soil conditions that we have to deal with. And next slide. So as I mentioned, there were more geotechnical borings and test pits performed. So you can see the rectangles in red were test pits that included, that had trash in them. So you can kind of get an idea of the extent. The rectangles in green were also test pits where there weren't any trash encountered. But as I mentioned, we still encountered some poor soil conditions. And the orange circles are where boring. So those are ones that went down deeper, 14, 15 feet, to capture, more of the layers of the soil, so that way the engineers can have a better understanding of how they deal with those issues, whether from a structural standpoint or from a civil engineering standpoint. And then the next one. So these are the results of the two estimates. As I mentioned, two independent professional cost estimators, one representing CGA, meaning the town, and one representing the architect. It takes 2 weeks to develop the cost estimates. Those estimators do not communicate during those 2 week period. We want to be able to make sure that we're being restricted there, so that way it's not clouding any of the costs as we reconcile. And then we go through a day-long meeting with the engineers, architect, cost estimators, going through line by line of the cost estimate. So the goal of that is to make sure that both estimators are looking at the same information. They may not agree on the cost of something, but they should agree on the quantity, and they should agree on the scope of the work. And that's the main focus of those exercises. So in the end, we finished about $275,000 apart, which is fantastic. When we did the design development document estimates, we were about $500,000 apart, which makes sense because, there's less information in those documents. There's much more information in these documents. However, we did come in higher than we were at DD. So now the average estimated construction cost is $36 million, so it went up a little bit. And then we take that information and I just highlighted it here, but we have a spreadsheet that captures details of these items. So the estimate for the construction cost is at $36 million. That's the average of the two estimates. We have just under $1,565,000 for architect and engineering services, $725,000 for OPM services through completion. Other project costs or other items that we identify that we know that this project may need and will need, like independent testing and inspection services and things of that nature, insurances, so on. And then we put right now $1.5 million only contingency that's to deal with any unknowns during construction, as well as any additional soft costs that may be needed. And we have an allowance, a budget allowance for any furniture, furnishings and equipment, as well as any technology. So right now, the total project budget is $40,740,000. So obviously, we bumped over the 40 million since the last time we met, but I think the thing is that we're still only relying on cost estimates right now. The estimators can only do what they can based on what's available for them. When we go out to bid, we'll see the real numbers. We'll know what the contractors are seeing. We feel that we're going out to bid at a good time. A lot of contractors are looking to line up their work for 2025, 2026. The fact that this is a first for me, and I've been doing this quite a long time, that we had that much coverage in the subcontractor categories. It was just phenomenal. So there's a lot of interest. We need to be at a sweet spot because of the cost range. It opens up the door for a lot of other contractors. And to receive 12 general contractors submitting RFQs and being able to pre-qualify 11, we're anticipating that we're going to see a lot of competition, and that's going to drive the cost down. So that's what we're hoping. Nobody really knows, contractors. We won't know that until we open up those bids.
And just on that point, so part of the conversation that we've had, so the city of Taunton just went up with a public safety complex. It's just about an $80 million project that they went out to bid, came in $8 million less than anticipated. Right. So hopefully, as Dan was saying, that with the number of GCs coming up there, that hopefully we'll see markets. Hopefully, I'd like to be $8 million under.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I think, during the last 4 years, we've been dealing with COVID stuff, right? COVID impact on cost, materials, supplies, labor. I think things are starting to settle down a little bit. It doesn't mean, costs can't go crazy again, but it seems like labor is back in line. Getting materials back in line. There's always the exception. There's a couple of still, for some reason, electronics, electrical components like switchgear, generators. Those still have very long lead time, which also adds to the cost. So a couple more just updates on VE. So one of the things that was discussed at the last board meeting about the potential of not constructing the salt shed, fueling station, and at the new site, keeping it at the current site. We did go through some cost estimating on that just to see what that could potentially cost, or save is $2 million. I know the board is not completely in favor of doing that, having everything all at one site. Makes a lot of sense. But we went ahead and just studied it again anyway, just to make sure that we were, to kind of get a better idea of where that stood. What we are going to do, because we think it's a good idea, is that we're going to inform the contractors that we'd like them to price that out. And then we can come back to the committee, to the board with a recommendation to approve everything or approve everything except something, depending on how the numbers come in. So, but we're only estimating it, so I believe it's better that the contractors themselves provide us what they feel the real savings would be if we didn't construct it there. And then just recently, there was a discussion about reducing some wall base around the exterior perimeter of the building. We were a little surprised. We didn't expect it to come back at $250,000 in savings. So working with the building committee, it was agreed that let's just eliminate that, because it's $250,000 and we can use all the help we can get. And it didn't compromise anything for the building or operations. As you can see here, what you see in red, especially right there, it says the bid alternate. That's the area that we're looking at just identifying for the contractors to price out as a no build, and to let us know what that cost would be. And then we did relocate parking that you see on the far left over to the right, and that saves some costs as well. And it's really about, the other thing I wanted to point out, I don't know if this is, I guess it is all complete up there. So you can see that turquoise color, that's the sound wall, that's the acoustical wall that's going to go up to whatever height that the engineers recommend to provide even more of a buffer to the neighbors along 114A as well as Carter's Way. And it continues on to the other side. In addition to the fact that this site is actually lower than the other site, it's only going to help when it comes to sight and sound.
Mr. Solomon? It's a discussion period. Do you want to discuss anything?
Anybody else can go?
I'm calling on you first. You're good?
I'm pondering right now. I'll let you know.
Mr. Lazara?
You know, for a sound wall, how much sound, I mean, there's not much sound that they're gonna be making other than, I mean, what's the money that they're gonna cost for that sound wall? How much are we looking at?
Actually, was that priced out? I don't know if that item was priced out, the acoustical wall.
Off the top of my head, I don't have that number, but
It was mostly based on the feedback that we were receiving when we had those public forums, and the neighbors were concerned about the amount of sound. We agree, there's not a lot of sound going in that direction, all the sound is going in the other direction. But it does provide additional acoustics, so one of the things we could do with that as well is identify that as an alternate, and just,
acoustic engineer was the one that recommended it because they did the testing on the site prior. So the site now, as it is, they put sound monitoring, and they also did some studies as to what the building will generate between the HVAC system and the engines and stuff like that, the cars pulling in and leaving, and they're recommending, they were recommending this acoustic barrier.
What was the wall that was removed? What was it?
oh, that was in the back, you can actually still see it there, that wall right there
Oh, okay.
is no longer there. And the only reason why that was there initially was the civil engineer thought they needed a wall to deal with the grading, because as I mentioned, the property that the building is gonna be constructed on is lower than the neighbors, so that there's like a hill right there. But they were able to rework that, just from a grading standpoint, they don't need the wall, so that wall got eliminated, and that saved a considerable amount of money, just by eliminating that and just reworking the grade. But, you know, from our perspective, working very closely with the building committee and Sean and Dave and the architects and the engineers, I mean, the building is as efficient as it can be. It's a metal building. You can't really get anything less expensive to build or more cost effective. The program itself meets the needs of the DPW. And also looking into the future, there's not a lot of room for expansion, so that's why, you know, when we looked at the possibility of knocking another 5 feet off of the garage, after doing the analysis and what it was gonna save, it really wasn't worth it, because you can't get that 5 feet back in, and, you know, if you needed it in the future, then you'd be in trouble. But, so there was quite a bit of effort made to really study the cost of this project, and this proposal.
Mr. Haley, anything?
All I got is, thank you for the presentation. I look forward to getting the project done. I'm fully supporting everything at one site. I am not in favor of trying to split this project up and having things separated. And I'm hoping it comes back with a good bid, and I'm looking forward to November's town meeting.
Thank you. Another question regarding the splitting. What is the age of the existing salt shed and the fueling station? Like what, I mean, are we looking at them needing to be replaced soon anyways? Like, or are they fairly new and they've got a long lifetime?
So as far as the lifetime of that salt shed, it's exceeded the life expectancy already. We have maintained it, it's still functioning okay. It's gonna need to be replaced down the road, you know, 5 years. I think that, you know, we're fortunate that it was built well, and we're fortunate we were able to keep the maintenance up on it, but.
And what about the fueling station? What's the age of that?
So the tanks have been there, I don't know the exact date on them, they've been there for a long time. It's the original, again, we maintained them, we've been inside one of the tanks, we cleaned and painted the whole outside on the steel one. So the maintenance work is kind of saving them. The only thing over there that's new are the pumps. We have new pumps, we have new fueling stations, and the fueling station, the software component, we used to have gas boilers, now Fuel Master, and that is new. So the
New
software is
pumps.
gonna follow us. Everything else there is
Okay.
just, again,
Oh, so you're actually thinking of reusing those pumps and moving them to the new sites?
something up, but the pumps are relatively new, but no. we would-
Oh, 'cause you said it's gonna follow us. Like,
the software, the Fuel Master software for the fueling of that, will be generated across, so only the software
okay,
would follow us.
Okay.
Everything else there, and the tanks are just integrated. Unfortunately, we don't have any problems right now, but everything right now, knock on wood, is.
okay.
Just jinx this.
Valuable information to know.
Yeah,
Anything now, Mr. Sullivan?
I'm good. Could I ask another question, if you don't mind?
I don't think you can ask questions.
Just going along with like, well, if the board's position is, we're just gonna put everything on that site regardless, I mean, do we still go forward and ask the contractors to price it on as an alternate?
No,
I would not, I'm
nope.
in agreement, it's all gonna be on.
Because either all or nothing, right?
Yeah.
All or
That's what I'm
nothing.
saying.
That's a much better, design for the salt shed and that other integrated thing, just makes
It's the
sense to
idea-
do it the right way.
Yeah, and if the idea was to value engineer it that way, but at the end of the day, it's gonna end up being replaced in the next few years anyway. We're not value engineering anything by doing this, so we're probably hurting ourselves.
Very good.
It's gonna help us with the alternates anyways, the other, if we have other
Exactly,
alternates.
right, and it actually, it's a lot of work for the architects, the engineers to actually develop separate documents for all of that, so. we
Yep.
can- They'll be pleased to hear. We weren't forcing it, but we know that cost has been a factor from day one on this project. And, just want to be mindful of it. We were looking for avenues that we could present, down the road, but, yeah, that's good. Right. Well, that's where we'll go forward.
The plans for the old, I guess it's the new garages up by the salt shed, any plans to move that over, seeing that's just the steel they're taking down and bring it over?
The three-bay garage we have,
No.
there's the foundation there, and that's probably, I guess, it could stay there and be useful there, to try to move that, in my opinion, I would like.
The shell, and we'll keep the shell there.
One thing, moving on the trucks.
And all the people.
And all the people.
All the people.
One more question, that's regarding the test beds and the test pits. You said you had more done.
Yes.
Did they find more trash? Did that number go up? The mountain has to be removed?
It just reconfirmed what they always suspected, but they wanted to have deeper piles driven down
Yeah.
so that way they could see what the extent of that poor soil condition was. And so it didn't really give us better information. I mean, it did give us new information, it gave us better information too, so that way the engineers can now reconfirm that that's gonna happen. Either way, like, in fact, the meeting that we had this morning, we're looking at how are we going to bid this out, because we're dealing with a lot of soil that would have to come out and a lot of trash that would have to come out. And if some of it can stay on the site, then we can save some money that way. And that's something that we just need to work with Dave. But right now, we have everything leaving the site. You know, that's included in these costs. And these costs, everything leaves the site. Trash, bad soil, all new soil comes in. So, and no constructing over trash. Any structure. Not the salt shed, not the fuel station, and not the building, clearly.
Everybody good? Good, good. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate the
That was
hard
great.
work.
It was great. Consider the agreement concerning the administration of a chapter 60B option to purchase property AP 14 lots 78 and 96. This is going to be discussed in executive session, and possibly we will be reconvening into open session for a vote. Consider the approval of open session minutes from June 26, 2024 and July 10th, 2024. Mr. Laura? Wait.
We gotta take them
One at
separate.
a time. June 6th, somebody? No, I'm sorry.
June 26th.
I thought that's what I said, but I guess June 26th, somebody make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Anybody have anything, any corrections, additions, or whatever? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? July 10th?
Motion to approve as submitted?
Second.
Hold on, okay, PM second, any discussion or corrections? I have one on page 4, the very bottom, where it says, Chris Sora asked about billing, do residents pay in full, or can they have installments? Can you just have that spelling corrected?
Oh.
It's installment, it's
I
not,
went through all these meetings.
it's all right. It's just the actual spelling thing. Other than that, that's it. Anyone else? No? All in favor with the one correction?
One extension.
and months. Mr. Sullivan abstained for July 10th. Okay, other business, discuss other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours before the meeting. I'm not the chairman.
Oh, I thought you were looking at it, I'm sorry.
I wasn't looking at you, I was looking for the paper that I got. Okay, just so people know, because I got this today, because volunteers are a wonderful thing, but I'll read it anyway. Dear Chair Hines, congratulations for your recent election as Select Board Chair. Seekonk is the Chief Executive Officer. Seekonk, you represent your community ex officio as a member of the MBTA Advisory Board. You may appoint a designee to represent you and Seekonk on the MBTA Advisory Board. To do so, please email me with your designee's name and contact details. And this was given to me today by Brian Kane, Executive Director of the MBTA Advisory Board. And unless anybody else volunteers, if you'd like to be on that board, please contact me. That's all I have for information for you. Okay, Town Administrator's Report, DPW, we just did that. Do you have anything else?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Board of Selectmen Liaison Reports and Comments, Accounts Payable Warrant Signed. 540 Arcade Avenue Building Committee Report. It's just paperwork at this point, finalizing everything. Just to let the committee know, the board know, we did have an issue with the elevator this week. And the elevator company came and it was fixed very quickly. So we also saw what the issue was and a lot of questions asked about different things. So everything's good there too. And you should come in and see the building during the day when they're open, so you can see everything that goes on there and see it. We had some new people there today taking a tour and they really loved it. They took a calendar of events home with them, so it's good. TV9?
Nothing new?
Okay, Bristol County Advisory Board?
Next meeting is scheduled for August 8th at 6 o'clock.
The Dearest Farm Committee report?
So they had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. They had reviewed the timelines that were originally proposed. So they're gonna go back and redo that because getting CHA on board took a little longer than previously expected. That also being said, they have begun doing some site inspections. They're scanning buildings and there's some work that is now going to be taking place over the course of the next couple of weeks, surveys, etc. And the next committee meeting is not been determined yet, but we are looking to be around the week of August 12th. And that's it.
Good. Seekonk Public Library Feasibility Study Building Assessment.
So some good news, after waiting a long time to try and find somebody to do the work for studying that corner of the building. They finally got a tentative schedule of the week of August 19th. As of right now, that is when they're expecting to have the work done. They don't have the exact day yet, but week of the 19th.
That's good. Step in the right direction. Okay, any comments, Mr. Sullivan?
Nothing.
Nothing today? Okay. Chris?
Nothing.
Nothing? Mrs. Povey? No, nothing today? Mr. Healy?
No, I have nothing.
Madam Chairman, just quickly, so the voting contest, so that's already up.
Oh, it is,
online.
excellent.
Yeah, so posted.
Oh, excellent. So they can go at it?
Same way,
Have at it.
just
It's
to
more
that,
efficient.
yeah, to that point though, when you do go to vote, make sure you click on the design and then hit submit. And we did have some blank submissions come through on the voting, so. Before you hit the submit.
Yeah, you
button,
have to
Make sure you
click
click on
on
the design you
and then go down and hit submit.
Great job these days.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, I have a couple of things. As people may or may not have seen, the police department is recruiting. And you can apply online on the town website. We're gonna encourage anyone who is interested in being a police officer or may wanna go for an interview. There's no cost involved. They will, when you go on that website, they'll set up an interview with you. And you can go in and interview with them. They'll ask you questions. You can ask them questions. So if you're interested at all at becoming a police officer, they're doing that right now. So if you go to the town website, you'll find the instructions, and it is very easy to find because I found it already. So if I can find it, so can you. So please go look at it, go for an interview. You know, it's a great career. And, you know, let's see what happens. Also, from the police department on Tuesday, August 6th, Seekonk Public Safety Complex from 4 to 8 is having their night out. Free food and prizes, games, activities, and demonstrations. That advertisement has already gone out too, August 6th, Tuesday night. Anybody who's been there will probably go again. I've been, I think, every year since they started. It's a great time. You meet police officers. There's a lot of activities. There's raffles and free prizes and everything, and games for the kids and ATV rides. Hopefully they'll have that without tearing up the grass in the back, but we can receive it. Also, to remind everybody, if you're not registered to vote in the presidential election in November, you have until October 25th of this year to register to vote. So keep that in mind if you're not registered to vote and you want to vote. And you can do early voting at Town Hall in October 22nd to November 1st. They have mail-in ballots. You probably already received the thing from, what's his name? I can see his face.
Tom Gavin?
Tom Gavin, that's it. Okay, that's already in the mail. I received mine. I'm always under the assumption I'm the last one to get a notice, but if you want to do that, fill it out and send it in, or the early voting, or on November 3rd. So, and that's all I have. So I take a motion to adjourn till, take a motion to adjourn and then enter into executive session to reconvene an open session for potential contract and agreement approval. A joint executive session meeting with the planning board to consider the purchase exchange. Well, that's probably going to be whatever. Lisa.
Just me.
Oh, just you? Lisa value of real property pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, subsection 28(6), as having a discussion in open session would be detrimental to the negotiating position of the town. 36 Maple Avenue, AP 31, Lot 477, 46 Pond Street, AP 3, Lot 10, 0 Pond Street, AP 32, Lot 4, 72 Pond Street, AP 32, Lot 67, and 0 Forest Avenue, AP 31, Lot 465. To discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or discuss the discipline or dismissal of or complaints or charges against the public officer, employee, staff member, or individual per Mass General Law, Chapter 38, subsection 21A1, as having the discussion in open session would be detrimental to the litigation or bargaining position of the town. To consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A6, as having the discussion in open session would be detrimental to the negotiating position of the town, AP 14, Lot 78 and 96. To conduct strategy sessions with respect to negotiations with the confidential administrative assistant to the police department per Mass General Law, Chapter 38, subsection 21A2, as having a discussion in open session would be detrimental to the litigation or bargaining position of the town. To conduct a strategy session with respect to negotiations with the United Steel Workers Clerical Unit Local 9517-10 per Mass General Law, Chapter 38, subsection 21A3, as having a discussion in open session would be detrimental to litigation or bargaining position of the town, and to consider accepting the executive session meeting minutes of June 5th, 2024, June 26th, 2024, and July 10th, 2024.
So moved. Second, Michael Healy. Michael Healy, aye.
Pam Posey, aye.
Justin Sullivan, aye.
Chris Moore,
Michelle Hines, aye. Unanimous. Next board meeting, Wednesday, August 7th, 2026, 6 p.m. 2024, 6 p.m. right here. 2026. I realize that. I could go 2 years for Halloween. Yeah. That's one hell of a
Moratorium on-
break.